All right, so let's find a nice picture of Jorobe. There we go. All right, so Jorobe, we all know what's going on with Jorobe. If you don't know what's going on with Jorobe, I recommend that you go take a look at like some of my older videos on the situation. But Jorobe is an individual who had incredibly inappropriate interactions with people that were underage. That's just the reality. And so we've been doing quite a bit to try and drastically reduce the negative impact that Jorobe can have, right? So he had a very large following across multiple different social medias, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, etc. He ended up deactivating them himself. The one thing that's worrisome is that he did it himself, which means he can undeactivate it. Reactivate it would have been a better word to use, but you understand what I'm saying. However, after we found out, well, we already knew that, but after we found out what he did, we found out that he works for a church as some kind of like a financial thing. Irrelevant to students, but for those of you who don't know that aren't active with churches, it is a pretty customary that within churches, you don't just like work a job, you also volunteer your time. And our understanding, we were told by a lot of people that lived in his area and actually knew about him, is that not only was he stepped away from his old church because they had very harsh restrictions on interacting with kids. They're very regimented in it, rightfully so. That's what we were told. But he was also like youth pastor. He volunteered his time at this new church he worked for as a youth pastor. So we've got a bit of an update from I Speak 1906. And so credit, we're going to give credit where credit is due, of course. He called the pastor, and this is what he had told me. The pastor reached out and he wants to remain anonymous. However, the bishop is aware and he has been terminated and authorities have been contacted, and that's about all that we have here. And that's probably all we're ever going to get. And that is an unfortunate reality, but to be honest with you, I am incredibly surprised that we even got this far. To me, I was really, really incredibly concerned that nothing would ever be done and that the church would just not give a shit and suppress it. Because honestly, unfortunately, historically, churches have suppressed the negative interactions of people who belong to those communities. To the point where there are like massive lawsuits against the church and there's demanding of accountability being held by the Vatican and et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm surprised and I'm actually very happy that something actually was able to come of this. I want you to understand something. Like normally, I'm not like a cancel culture person. I don't want people to like remove their platforms for mistakes. But this goes beyond a mistake. And the biggest problem is that after we found out his allegations of inappropriate interactions with young people, underage people, as a 27-year-old man, we found out he works with kids. There is no more of like a scenario that could have been developed for like an individual who could like lay waste to young people and destroy them for the rest of their lives. And it's incredible to me that somebody who claims that they were touched inappropriately or groomed when they were young, or what did they say, molested when they were young, I think he said he was 8 years old, would do that to another person. I understand that there is a predisposition of people who are like molested when they're young to do the same thing. I know that a lot of people who are like predators or pedophiles have been predatorized themselves, but it doesn't justify it. It's still fucked up, and we have to break the cycle somewhere, and that just needs to be broken immediately. And we need to, Jorobe shouldn't be able to work or anywhere near kids. Frankly, he should probably be in jail or on an island somewhere. And it's just unfortunate because I don't know what the extent of his potential damage is. It's all speculation. Let's just keep it short before it becomes a very frustrating scenario, because I always get very heated over these. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who reached out, the people who were personally negatively impacted by Jorobe, who were impacted by him abusing his platform, who came forward and spoke their truth. And thank you to all the other content creators who put their platform on the line to talk about this stuff, because honestly, TikTok censors and suppresses this kind of shit. It's the truth, and it's a fucking horrible truth that TikTok suppresses. It seems like they almost want to protect, alleged predators. I just, it's happened historically. I've had accounts like demonetized or rather, shot down into priority and had been viciously post banned, and other content creators have had this problem happen before. With this happened with my Gemini official scenario, and this could have happened again. And people still they stepped up and they did the right thing. So